Why, I'm the unsilent majority, big mouth.
Joining us as she does is New South Wales Liberal Senator Concetta Fierravanti-Wells. Connie, good morning.
Good morning, Stephen.
A fair bit of public pressure on the Queensland Government has finally paved the way for some of our ADF personnel to return home. This was just extraordinary that not only the breakdown in communication, but even the absolute bungling where apparently the Health Minister in Queensland tried to text the Defence Minister and got his number wrong and wondered why he didn't get back to her.
Look, I think it's another decision where media pressure has been required for the Queensland Government to make a decision. Throughout this process, I think that we've seen an inconsistency in the decision-making of the Queensland Government. I think it's been breathtaking over the time of the pandemic, and I think this is just the latest in a series of decisions that the Queensland Government has made, bowing to public pressure. I mean, we know we saw it only just in the last week or so, the stoush with the 3-year-old boy stranded in New South Wales for 8 weeks. I mean, it's been going since last year. There was the issue with Tom Hanks, and it's just been a litany of bad decisions, I think.
Absolutely extraordinary. Speaking off Afghanistan, where these ADF personnel are coming back from, Afghan women are among those leading protests against the new Taliban government. You've got to give it to them for courage.
Absolutely, Stephen. I think the reports of gunfire that are breaking up these women's rights protests demonstrate that the Taliban is the same oppressive regime that we know from the past. I think we all fear for Afghan women and children, their rights to education, to work and freedom of movement. They do deserve to live in safety, security and with dignity, but I think that they will be the ones to suffer the most. And I think it's going to be very difficult to prevent that discrimination and abuse, which is likely to happen as their voices cease to be heard in the international community.
And extraordinary that we're hearing out of the United States that some of the senior members of this new Taliban regime are people that were released from Guantanamo Bay on a prisoner swap deal for an American deserter.
Absolutely. I mean, that is absolutely shocking. And the interim government, and we put interim and government in inverted commas, is now being led. There are 4 apparently Taliban members that allegedly were swapped, were part of that deal that Obama did. But also, and very troubling, there's a chap called Haqqani. He's the son of the founder of the Haqqani Network, which is a US-designated terror group aligned with the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, and he's been appointed the Interior Minister. Now, we know that there are already reports about the Taliban gangs going door to door hunting for Afghan allies, and of course we know that the Taliban have a list of people that they have acquired, and the Haqqani Network, which is a key faction of the Taliban, they're made up of hardcore fighters, and they've been accused of some of the most deadly militant attacks in Afghanistan. So I think we know how this one's going to play out.
Yeah, and anyone that was under any illusions, they've officially changed the name of the country to the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, which I think says it all.
It does.
Yeah, frightening. Now, the New South Wales government, whilst there's no praise to go around for any state or territory government in this country, they seem to be waking up a little bit. John Barilaro, the Deputy Premier and member for Monero, is pushing for parts of regional New South Wales to come out of lockdown earlier, including parts of the state that have never had the coronavirus.
Well, Stephen, finally, I think we are seeing a change in the narrative of the New South Wales government to live with the virus. And it's commendable that Barilaro wants to end the lockdowns for certain areas. I think, Stephen, if we truly are looking to live with the virus, then we should be looking at ending lockdowns across the state. And I think that we are now starting to see medical evidence, particularly from overseas. And it was interesting, few just recently there was an article by James Morrow in the Daily Telegraph where he was quoting a professor of medicine at Stanford University, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, who's been quite a prolific commentator, and he says there will be cases and the disease will continue to spread even when we've got 80% of vaccination. So it does say that if the, and he stated, if the government's aim is to get rid of COVID from Australia, the strategy will fail and lockdowns will return even after 80% vaccination target is reached. COVID is here to stay and cannot be eradicated. And I think that overseas evidence have shown that lockdowns are really not achieving what the governments have said they would achieve.
No two ways about that. And look, it's at least we're getting some... I guess some leadership from the New South Wales government on this, and my understanding is that Gladys Berejiklian has even stood up to the health officials this time. And look, whilst I'm not suggesting that government shouldn't follow health advice, we pay you guys to actually make decisions, not just hand over responsibility to the bureaucrats. So finally, some light at the end of the tunnel there too.
Absolutely, Stephen. I mean, ultimately, advice is advice to government, and the governments are responsible to their electorates for the decisions that they make. By all means, take into account that advice, but ultimately the decision maker is the government to whom, and they are responsible to the electorate for the decisions that they make.
We live in interesting times. Connie, good to talk to you. We'll catch up again next week.
Thanks very much, Stephen.
All the best. Senator Concetta Fierravanti-Wells, 7:15.